let us talk about digestive system. The thing you see on the board, the thing first, this food. This full is introduction, which anyone can study. The introduction anyone can study, and just you need to frame some points enough. And the next, according to the chapter, they divided the chapter into four subtopics: 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, and 16.4. Coming to the 16.1, digestive system. And then, according to NCERT, this digestive system is divided into two things. One is alimentary canal and other is digestive glands. Coming to the human digestive system. Human digestive system is divided into two things. One is alimentary canal and other is digestive glands. Coming to the mouth. Coming to the alimentary canal, the first part of alimentary canal is mouth. This mouth leads into the buccal cavity or oral cavity, and this buccal cavity or oral cavity has two parts. First thing is coming to the teeth. Coming to the teeth has a hard chewing surface which is made up of enamel. Okay, that's why and then this tooth is helpful in mastication of food. Okay, this teeth is helpful in mastication of food. And then generally we say that human teeth is thecodont. We say thecodont because the human teeth is embedded in the sockets. That's why we say it as thecodont. And then we say human teeth as heterodont also, because heterodont means there are four different types of teeth exist. Four different means incisors, canines, premolars, molars. And then human dental formula is 2123 by 2123. You can ask how did dental formula came and what is it? And if you see here, we should take a quadrant of our mouth. Okay, if we take a quadrant of the mouth, it has two incisors, one canine, two premolars, and then three molars. Generally, this third molar is called as a wisdom teeth, which comes after 18 only. After 18 only it comes. So under 18 test case, if they want to do under 18 test, they'll use this third molar also. Okay, but generally if they ask adult human means you should say 2123, three molars only. If they specifically below 18, then you say 2122. Okay, but the mostly case generally they will ask 2123 only. Okay, so this is 2123. This is for lower jaw, and for upper jaw there will be 2123. So 2123 by 2123. Upper jaw 2123, lower jaw 2123. And this is one quadrant, that is one quadrant. Still there are two quadrants. So 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 into 4. So total 32 teeth are present in the adult human being. Next, in NCERT, they are also given that the human teeth is called as typhoidont. Typhoidont means that in our lifetime we get teeth two times. One is milk teeth, another thing is permanent teeth. Milk teeth, which you see in the children, and its general dental formula is 2102 by 2102. It is not an NCERT, but just remember that premolars are not there in the small children. So their formula is 2102 by 2102, and then typhoidont, it occurs in the majority of mammals. Majority of mammals, it's an important line. And then next, coming to the tongue. The tongue is a freely movable muscular organ attached to the floor of oral cavity by frenulum. The upper surface of the tongue has projections called papillae, which bear the taste buds. And then next, coming to the buccal cavity or oral cavity. And its functions of buccal cavity or oral cavity is, one is mastication of food, which enamel does. Okay, which the enamel does. And second thing was facilitation of swallowing. This was occurred with the mucus. And now the food that comes after the buccal cavity, that is called as bolus. The food that comes after buccal cavity is called as bolus. And now this bolus goes into the pharynx. The pharynx is the common passage for food as well as air. And then this pharynx opens into the epiglottis. And now so many of you may have doubt how this pharynx is common passage for food and air. See, this one is called as uvula. This one is called as epiglottis. If you want to see this, just take a mirror and keep and open your mouth and see there. At least this will be visible. This is called as uvula. This is called as epiglottis. And see what will happen. This side is digestive tract and one side will be wind tract. When the food enters now, this epiglottis moves this side, so that the food can go inside the digestive tract. When you want to breathe, this epiglottis moves like this, so that you can breathe happily from this side. This is what happens. Okay. the breathing will come in the next chapter. Now let us lead into this. Now the food goes into the esophagus. Okay. Now the food goes into the esophagus, which is a thin, long tube. And now from the this esophagus passes through neck, thorax, and diaphragm, and at last this esophagus leads into a J-shaped bag-like structure. Now, coming to the stomach. According to NCERT, the esophagus opens directly into the cardiac region of the stomach. According to NCERT, the food from the esophagus directly enters into the cardiac regions of the stomach. This is a golden line of NCERT. And generally in the stomach we have four parts: fundus, cardiac, body, and then pyloric. These four parts are given as per NCERT. Okay, and then after this it goes into duodenum. Meanwhile, there was a sphincter called as pyloric sphincter. Here there would be pyloric sphincter, and here opening of the stomach. Here there would be cardiac sphincter or gastroesophageal sphincter. Here there would be gastroesophageal or cardiac sphincter, and here there would be pyloric sphincter. Important. Coming to the next after pyloric sphincter, it leads into the small intestine. In the small intestine, once upon a time in NCERT, they told that duodenum is a U-shaped one. In these days, they changed it into C-shaped one. So C-shaped duodenum, and after duodenum leads into a long coiled middle portion called as jejunum. Jejunum is a long coiled middle portion, and then last one is highly coiled portion, that is ileum. Ileum is the highly coiled portion. Now, after small intestine, it the food goes into the large intestine. Meanwhile, we have ileocecal wall. This ileocecal wall means its function is not to allow any backflow. Okay, wall function is not to allow any backflow. Okay, coming to the large intestine. In large intestine, first part is cecum. This cecum is a small blind sac which hosts the microorganisms, as well as the cecum has a narrow finger-like structure called as vermiform appendix, which arises from the cecum. We know that. Okay, from the cecum, there is a narrow finger-like structure called as vermiform appendix, which is a secondary lymphoid organ. Also, maybe you have heard that some people have attended the appendix operation. This is only okay. And then colon. Coming to colon. We have the pathways: ascending, transverse, descending, and then sigmoid. Okay, in NCERT they not give descending colon, they give descending part. And then in NCERT they told that from descending part it opens into the rectum, not sigmoid. They told that from descending part it opens into the rectum, and rectum opens into the anus. Okay, means from descending colon it opens into the rectum, and from rectum it opens into the anus. That's it. Now, coming to the digestive glands. In the digestive glands, first in NCERT they give is salivary glands. These salivary glands are three types: parotid, submaxillary, and sublingual. And these three secrete the salivary juice into the buccal cavity. Now, let us see in the diagram form. This is the parotid gland, and here is the submaxillary and sublingual glands. Sublingual means below the tongue, and submaxillary glands are also called as angles of jaw, which is out of NCERT, just I'm saying it. Okay, and parotid is one of the facial gland. That's it. Now, let us go to the next gland, that is liver, which is the largest gland. Liver is the largest gland, which is 1.2 to 1.5 kg, situated in abdominal cavity, just below diaphragm, and liver has two lobes. And then, it's a very important golden line of NCERT. Please listen. Hepatic lobules are the structural and functional units of liver. Hepatic lobules are the structural and functional units of liver. And these hepatic lobules contain hepatic cells. These hepatic cells are arranged in the form of cords. Okay, these cords are lined by a thin capsule, thin connective tissue, and that is called as Glissen's capsule. Okay, these hepatic cells, they are arranged in the form of cords, and these cords are covered, surrounded by one thin connective tissue, and this is called as Glissen's capsule. And this entire thing is called as hepatic lobule. So hepatic lobule is covered by thin connective tissue called as Glissen's capsule, as well as it contains the hepatic cells. It contains the hepatic cells. Now the bile. which is secreted by the hepatic cells. It passes through hepatic ducts and stored and concentrated in a thin muscular sac that is called as gallbladder, and which is guarded by cystic duct. As well as from the ducts of liver, there is a duct from common hepatic duct, and both of these join and form a common bile duct. And this common bile duct and pancreatic duct together open into duodenum as hepatopancreatic duct, and this hepatopancreatic duct is guarded by sphincter of Oddi. If you want, let us see by a diagram. See, here is the gallbladder, and here is the duct of gallbladder, nothing but cystic duct. And here are the hepatic duct, which converts to form common hepatic duct. It is common hepatic duct and cystic duct combine to form a common bile duct. And this common bile duct and pancreas, both of these combine to open into duodenum as hepatopancreatic duct. At last, coming to the pancreas. The pancreas are situated between the limbs of C-shaped duodenum. And generally, we say pancreas has both exocrine part and endocrine part. Exocrine means the part which doesn't have ducts, and these secrete alkaline pancreatic juice. Generally, exocrine part, generally the one which has duct, they carry the enzymes, and the one which are ductless, they carry the hormones. So the endocrine part is there now, they carry the hormones like insulin and glucagon, and the exocrine part, they secrete the alkaline pancreatic juice which contain the enzymes. Now we finished our first topic, that is the digestive system. And now let us move into the second topic. Now, after digestive system completion, there is a thing which is left in it, which is common to both digestive system and digestion of food. Why I am saying here? Because it is a connecting point for the both the topics. Okay, let us start with it. If we cut the gut transversely, then we'll see four layers. Outermost is serosa, and then next to is muscularis. This muscularis has outer longitudinal and inner circular muscles. Okay. In stomach, there is an extra layer which is called as oblique layer, which is very, very inner. Okay. Means outer is longitudinal, next inner circular, and the next is oblique layer, which is inner than circular. Okay. And the next is submucosa, and the next is mucosa, which contains the lumen. Next is mucosa, which contains the lumen. I know this diagram is not good, but okay, the resources which I have in them, this is the best diagram. For a better understanding, just I'm taking it. See, here is the serosa. Next is longitudinal muscles, next is circular muscles, and next is submucosa, and the next is mucosa. In submucosa, there are only one gland present. That is also in duodenum only. That is Brunner's glands. Okay, Brunner's glands. Okay, generally the submucosa is a loose connective tissue which contain nerves, blood, and lymph vessels. Okay, and next coming to the mucosa. In mucosa, and then in intestine we have villi. Let's go somewhat more depth about. Okay, now let us start about the mucosa. Mucosa in stomach, it forms a small irregular folds that is called as rugae. Rugae are the small irregular folds that are formed in the stomach of mucosa. And in intestine, the mucosa forms the villi. These villi contain the microvilli that give the breast border appearance. Okay, and then mucosal epithelium in intestine has goblet cells which secrete the mucus that helps in lubrication. If you refer the structural organs in animals chapter, there you will see unicellular glands, and where these unicellular glands have goblet cells, they secrete the mucus. Yeah, it's a both connected point. It is a connected point from both lessons. Yeah. Next, the mucosa in a stomach, the mucosa forms gastric glands. Okay, in which there are three cells. First one is mucus neck cells, which secrete the mucus. And second thing is peptic or chief cells, which secrete pepsinogen. And third one is parietal or oxyntic cells, which secrete HCl and intrinsic factor. The intrinsic factor absorbs the vitamin B12. So many of them just by heart that vitamin B12, but they don't know what happens. It is absorption of vitamin B12, and NCERT clearly mentioned it. Okay. And the next, the crypts in between the bases of villi is found because of mucosa, and they are called as crypts of Lieberkühn. And these strips of Lieberkühn are also called as intestinal glands. Okay. And then in the mucus and bicarbonates, they help in so many things. Example, if you see in stomach we have HCl, which is a very more less pH, so it is very acidic in nature. So to prevent the stomach from exogeration, the mucus and bicarbonate help us, as well as this mucus and bicarbonate helps us to keep the alkaline pH for enzymatic activities in the intestine. We are moving to the second topic, that is digestion of food. So while moving to digestion of food, let us know about the different juices. Okay, first thing is salivary juice. It is secreted by the salivary gland, and it has enzymes like amylase and lysozyme. You know, it's an important thing is lysozyme. It kills the bacteria also. Okay, it's an important thing. And then next, there are some monoelectrolytes like Na plus, K plus, Cl minus, HCO3 minus. Okay. Next thing, the saliva has pH of 6.8. Okay, and saliva is located in mouth cavity. Okay, and salivary glands are located in mouth cavity, so we get the saliva in mouth. Okay. Next, gastric juice. Next, gastric juice. In the gastric juice, it's secreted by the gastric gland, and then the enzymes present are pepsin, renin, and then gastric lipase, and then its pH is 1.8. It is present in the mucosa of stomach. And then bile, it is secreted by liver, and you need to note that there are no enzymes in the bile. There are no enzymes in the bile, but there are salts in the bile. Okay, and then the bile pH is 7.8. And the next, it is located in abdominal cavity just below the diaphragm. They're saying about the liver. Okay, they're saying about the liver here. Liver is located just below the diaphragm. Okay. Next, bile pigments too have no function. They are also metabolic waste, but you know bile salts are important, which they help in activating the bile. Next, let's go to the pancreatic gland. Here I'm talking about exocrine because exocrine only secretes the alkaline pancreatic juice. Okay, and the next, the enzymes of pancreatic juice. The trick to remember is NP talc, like Pond's talc, and just creating NP talc. And they are nucleases, procarboxypeptidase, and then trypsinogen, and then amylase, and then lipase, and then chymotrypsinogen. These are the 6 enzymes present here. And then the pH of pancreatic juice is 8.4. And you know pancreas is located between the limbs of duodenum. Next, succus centricus. It is secreted by 2 things. One is Brunner's gland, and another one is crypts of Lieberkühn. Both of them form means intestinal glands, and intestinal gland is equal to Brunner's glands and crypts of Lieberkühn. Okay. Next. Trick to remember the enzymes is Dan Mills. Just remember as if it's a Hollywood heroine name. Okay. D means dipeptidase, E means enterokinase, N means nucleotidase or nucleosidase, M means maltase, I means isomaltase, L means lactase, L means lipase, and S means sucrase. Just one thing, N means you remember 2 different enzymes. One is nucleotidase, one is nucleosidase. That's it. And its pH is also 7.8. So who is most alkaline in nature? Pancreatic juice is most alkaline in nature. Who is most acidic in nature? Gastric juice is most acidic in nature. Okay, at last, succus centricus is secreted by Brunner's gland, you know, and the crypts of Lieberkühn is secreted by mucosa of intestine. Yeah. Now, in the second topic is the most crucial. Please try to remember this. First, carbohydrates, proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids. 4 of them are there. So now let us start what happens in the mouth. In mouth, the proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids, nothing digestion occurs, but only carbohydrates digestion occurs. And that too, only 30% of the starch we take is converted into maltose by the help of enzyme called as salivary amylase. Okay, also called as tyalin. And then that's it. Next, let us go to the esophagus. In esophagus, nothing occurs. Next, go to the stomach. In stomach, there will be 2 things. One is protein digestion occurs. Another thing is what? Lipids digestion occurs. Coming to the protein digestion. In small children there is renin because they take a more amount of milk. Okay. So as they take the more amount of milk, so there is most useful of the enzyme renin. And remember RE-double-N-ion, it comes in this chapter. RE-single-N-ion, it comes in the excretion chapter. Okay. So first thing, HCl. This HCl activates the prorenin into renin and pepsinogen into pepsin. And this renin acts on the cysteine, which is a milk protein, in which most of the children, as they drink most of the milk, so cysteine will be more in the small children. So this renin acts on that and converts it into paracecin. This paracecin converts into calcium paracetinate, and now pepsin acts and converts it into peptones. Whereas in adults, directly the pepsin acts into the proteins into the peptone. Directly the pepsin converts the proteins into the peptones and proteases. And then I told you gastric lipase is there, no? So it helps. It helps in lipids digestion. Okay, now let's go to the next one. If we see the digestion in the small intestine, which is the most important thing, in small intestine both pancreatic juice will come as well as intestinal juice, both will come. Okay, so first coming to the carbohydrates, bile has more role in carbohydrates. In pancreatic juice, nothing. In pancreatic juice, there is an enzyme called as pancreatic amylase. If you see in the before page, I told you that NP talk, right? Where I told A means amylase in the pancreatic juice. This amylase is nothing but pancreatic amylase. So here, it acts and converts it into the disaccharides like lactose, sucrose, or maltose. Anything it can happen. Okay, disaccharides. And then now in intestinal juice, what it does means disaccharides means maltose, lactose, and sucrose, right? Now I told in intestinal enzymes what are those? Maltase, lactase, sucrase. So these three of them act and convert the maltose into glucose plus glucose, and lactose on this lactase acts and it converts it into glucose plus galactose. On sucrose, the sucrase acts and it converts it into glucose and fructose. Okay. On maltose, the maltase acts and converts it to glucose plus glucose. On lactose, lactase acts and converts into glucose and galactose. Citric lactose, galactose. Okay. Now coming to the proteins digestion. Here there is a misconception. Some people think like some example. See, in proteins, what happens is, enterokinase is present here in intestine. Enterokinase is present in intestine, whereas trypsinogen is present here. Trypsinogen, chemotrypsinogen, all are present in pancreas. Okay. What is the problem is this trypsinogen is generally inactive. It can be activated by enterokinase only. Okay. And then when this trypsinogen converts into active trypsin, this active trypsin converts the chemotrypsinogen into chemotrypsin and procarboxypeptidase into carboxypeptidase. Means nothing but it inactivate forms into activate forms are converted by trypsin only. Okay. So now what can we do? Some people say that also it's generally marking up only. Some people say that generally the food goes into intestine and there the enterokinase acts on trypsinogen. And then there itself it converts into trypsin. And some people say that it from intestine it goes into pancreas, where it is not possible mostly. So all of them believe in first case only. When it enters into the intestine, the enterokinase converts the trypsinogen into trypsin, and now this trypsin converts the chemotrypsinogen into chemotrypsin and procarboxypeptidase into the carboxypeptidase. Okay, and now this three of them at last converts the proteins, proteases, peptones into dipeptidase, and then in these the dipeptidase enzyme acts and converts them into the amino acids and nucleic acids. Nucleic acid conversion starts in pancreas only. DNA and RNA are nucleic acids. On them, the nucleases act and convert them into nucleotides. Whereas in intestinal juice, we have nucleotidase and nucleosidase. So first of all, on nucleotides, the nucleotidase acts and convert them into nucleosides. On nucleosides, the nucleosidase acts and convert them into nitrogenous bases and pentose sugar. That's it. Now let us move into the lipids. In lipids, the major role is played by bile. Okay, what this bile does means, and now the last project of the lesson. This is nothing but how the digested products are absorbed. Okay, example like glucose, galactose, amino acids. Three of them are there. These three of them mostly by simple diffusion they absorb, but these are absorbed by precipitated diffusion also. They are absorbed by active transport also. Whereas fructose is absorbed only by precipitated diffusion. Okay. Whereas vitamins like K plus and B12 they are absorbed by active transport. Whereas H2O is absorbed by osmosis. This is an important thing in the NCERT. And at last, let us see go to the NCERT right. In fats conversion, the most majority of the role is played by bile because the bile does emulsification. The emulsification, the large fat molecules are converted into the small fat droplets. Small fat droplets are nothing but triglycerides. Now these triglycerides, by the action of steaopsin, pancreatic lipase, converts them into glycerol. And then meanwhile in the intestinal lipase also helps for the pancreatic lipase. Okay. And then now we got glycerol and fatty acids. Now what happens further conversion? Let us see. You see, in lumen of intestine, what happens means the fatty acids and glycerol, which are insoluble, so this can't be absorbed into the blood. So what happens means in small intestine, at first step, these all are converted into micelles, okay, which are called as small droplets. In the luminary, this process happens, and now these micelles are shifted into the intestinal mucosa. Okay, and in intestinal mucosa, these are coated into very small tubulets called as chylomicrons, and later these are shifted to lacteal. Okay, lacteals, and then where the lymph vessels absorb these and release them into bloodstream. To understand this, once see the villi structure, you will get the more clarity. If you see the villi, see this is the villi, this is the lacteal, this is the capillary, this is the artery, this is the crypt and the veins. Generally, in the intestinal mucosa, first what happens means the fatty acids and glycerols are taken into blood, where in lumen of the blood. Lumen is where lumen is present in mucosa one. Okay, so in the mucosa, the innermost layer of mucosa is lumen. So lumen is very inside of it. Okay, in lumen only the micelles are formed, and now these micelles are formed into the moving into the intestinal mucosa. So somewhat near to mucosa. Okay, in mucosa, these are formed as chylomicrons, and now these chylomicrons are shifted into the lacteal. Here the lymph vessels absorb these and release into the bloodstream. And now these absorbed substances reach into the tissues and these are utilized for the activities. This is what the entire thing happens in the fat digestion. This is the last flowchart of the NCERT. Mouth, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. What happens where they give. Okay. Generally, digestion, the whole process is like classified into 5 steps. First is ingestion, how we take the food, and the next thing is digestion. Yeah, we say means breaking them into small parts. Okay, which we require, and the next part is absorption, how they are absorbed, and now these absorbed parts how they are utilized. That is called as assimilation, and at last we call as defecation, by which they excrete. That is what we see. And I think you can read this. Most important thing is which is absorbed. Most important thing is in large intestine, large amount of water is absorbed. One is this is important. Another thing is in small intestine, maximum digestion occur. This is the another point which is important. And then mouth drugs are absorbed. As you know, drugs are absorbed in both mouth and large intestine. In both these places, the drugs are absorbed. And then at last, now let's go to the disorders. And then let's go to first disorders. In disorders, you can read about, anyone can read, but most important thing, you should not confuse between diarrhea and constipation. Diarrhea is abnormal frequency, whereas constipation is irregular. Bowel movements occurring irregular. That's what you need to remember. Okay, after this, let's go to the main malnutrition disorders. In malnutrition, just this table is now marasmus and Gavaskar. What is the age of the and marasmus is due to both carbohydrate and proteins, whereas Gavaskar is only due to proteins. And what are the symptoms of marasmus? Extremely lean and skin become dry. And then whereas Gavaskar, edema, swelling of body parts. That's it. That's it. The lesson is completed. See guys, let us talk about the questions of the digestive system. The first question is, in jaundice, We know that the liver is affected, skin is affected, and eyes are affected. Yes, these all of them are turned blue. Because of what these all are turned blue? Option A, bile salts. Option B, bile pigments. Option C, bile enzymes. Option D, none. Pause the video and try the question. And hence the answer is bile pigments. Now moving to the next question. Which of the following disease is characterized by extensive edema and swelling of body parts? Option A, marasmus. Option B, Kawasaki. Option 3, both. Option D, none. Pause the video and try the question. And the answer is Kawasaki. Okay, let's move to the next question. This is an NCERT exercise question, that is gastric juice contains. Pause the video and read the options and try to answer the question. Okay, coming to the answer is first option, because trypsin is present in remaining three, but here trypsin is not present. We know that trypsin is present in the intestine. Okay, then you may ask how lipase came, but there is an NCERT line that gastric lipase is present. Okay, so answer is first option. What is the dental formula of the human? There are four options. First option is 2102 by 2102. Second option is 2123 by 2123. Third option is 2122 by 2122. Fourth option is 2100 by 2100. Think and answer. Okay. See, they given that 2102 by 2102. It is a formula of milk teeth. Okay, milk teeth, there are no premolars. Second one, 2123 by 2123. Yes, it is the answer. Because generally human means we need to consider as adult human being, 18 plus human being only. So answer is B. 2122 by 2122, it's correct, but it is for below 18. It is for below 18. Okay. Last one is also wrong. You know it. Okay. Let's move to the next question. What are the long coiled and highly coiled parts? What are the long coiled and highly coiled parts of small intestine? Okay. Here you read the options and try to answer the question. Pause the video and try to answer the question. Yeah, and the answer is jejunum and ileum. Second option. See, long middle coiled is jejunum and highly coiled is ileum. Okay. Now let us move to the next question. DAS regulates the opening of esophagus into the stomach. Very, very important bit. Pause the video and try to answer the question. Yeah, the answer is both. Cardiac or gastroesophageal sphincter means same meaning only, it will come. So answer is both. The cheek glands are option A, parotid, option B, submaxillary, option C, sublingual, option D, none. Pause the video and try to the answer. Yes, the answer is parotid gland, because it's an NCERT line. See, in NCERT they give that parotid means cheek glands, submaxillary. Submaxillary means present in the lower jaw, and these are also called as angles of jaw. And third one is sublingual, it is present below the tongue. Each hepatic lobule is covered by a thin connective tissue sheet called as. Pause the video and try to check the answer. Yes, the answer is Glissen's capsule. It's an NCERT line. I told that the hepatic cells are arranged in the form of cords and in a tissue sheet called as Glissen's capsule. Glissen's capsule and the hepatic cells form a hepatic lobule. So answer is Glissen's capsule. Let us move to the next question. Breakdown of biomacromolecules mentioned above in the DAS region of the small intestine. It is an NCERT line. Pause the video and check the answer. Yeah, the answer is duodenum. Last question. No significant activity occurs in. It is also an NCERT line. Pause the video and try to read the answer. Yeah, the answer is large intestine.